GenX Rewatch, 11 Hondas from 1990 to 2005. We have now arrived at the midpoint of my Honda ownership timeline, from the first purchase in 1990 to my last in 2020. And by this point, there are three major parts of the ownership experience I haven't stopped to cover across all of these cars. Reliability. What actually broke? What problems came up? And how did these Hondas hold up over time? Tip. You'll notice that I had near zero issues with any of these Hondas. Trade-in value. How did I manage to keep cycling through newer Hondas over the years without taking a huge loss every single time? Tip. You'll notice that the trade-in values for every single Honda was stunningly good, which is how I rotated through so many. Not a single Honda had that lose 20% of value the day you take it off the lot. And finally, accidents. Did any of these cars get wrecked, damaged, or caught up in a story worth telling? Tip. I have never had an accident that was my fault. But I have been in some, and they are great stories with some video included. Stick around with me as we talk about each Honda. 1987 CRX Si. I bought the CRX with about 70,000 miles on it and sold it with over 100,000. I traded in my first car for $500 credit. My 1985 Ford Escort. I never had a single reliability issue with this CRX, which is honestly amazing because I was 18 and drove that car like an idiot. Every corner was a handbrake drift, every shift was redline, and I did that for years. But that CRX kept taking it. I even sold it with the original clutch still in the car, and at that time it could barely catch a gear. Whoever accepted that trade-in probably should have looked at it a little bit closer, and they didn't. The value I got out of the CRX was unbelievable. I was making $3.35 an hour working at fast food, and I bought the CRX for $3,500, and about 3 years later traded it in for $3,000. For a kid at that age, that was huge. I did have one accident in the CRX, but it wasn't caused by me. I came out of the grocery store one night and found the rear bumper pushed in and crumpled a bit on the quarter panels. It probably cost $1,000 to fix back then, and that would probably cost $10,000 today on today's cars. Yeah, somebody hit and ran. That really pissed me off being 18, you know. 1993 Del Sol Si. I bought this 1993 Del Sol Si through a car broker with only around 6,000 miles on it. I drove it for a year, put about 8,000 miles on it, then traded it in for the 1995 Del Sol VTEC. This was the car that I replaced my 1987 CRX Si with. I honestly don't remember exactly what I paid, but I do remember that the broker got me a very good deal considering it was basically brand new and it was significantly cheaper than MSRP. So for that stretch of ownership, it worked out extremely well. And I also never had a single accident with that car. 1995 Del Sol VTEC. Good old Vader. This was my favorite Honda yet, but also one of the most problematic Hondas I owned overall. I bought it brand new off the lot, trading in my 1993 Del Sol Si. It's just one of those I had to do it to get that power and the rareness of the Del Sol VTEC. I sold it about 4 years later with around 30,000 miles on it. By this point, I had landed a union job at UPS while going to college. I was making about $11 an hour, working 20 hours a week, which for that time felt incredible. It was basically 3 times the minimum wage, even if the job itself was literally sweatshop labor. And with that, I could actually barely afford a car payment of around $300 a month. Now, the 1995 Del Sol VTEC had one of the few real reliability issues I ever had with a Honda that was covered under warranty. But before I get into that, I should remind you, I beat on this car harder than almost any car I've owned up to this point and any point after. This was my college car and I drove it like an idiot. We're talking about running down I-5 at 120 miles per hour at 2 a.m. in the morning, banging the 8,200 RPM redline on every shift and making long interstate runs at speeds that were just plain stupid. I even drove roughly 1,800 miles to the Club Soul meet at over 100 miles an hour for long stretches. So let me be clear, this was dumb stuff. Do not do this. At some point early on, the check engine light came on and I took the car to the dealer. This was the only Honda I've ever owned that had a check engine light come on. They quickly diagnosed it and replaced the oil pump under warranty. This was one of the very few actual warranty-related issues I ever had on a Honda. I also had problems with paint chipping on the hood from rocks, which seemed pretty common in this era as automakers were changing the painting process on cars and it was making the paint soft for a while. As it turns out, I came up with a pretty unusual solution for that, but I'll get into that in a few minutes. When I traded the Del Sol VTEC in for my first Honda S2000 in September of 1999, I once again got an amazing trade-in value. So even with everything I put this car through, it still held its value extremely well. As for accidents, I had several in the 1995 Del Sol VTEC, but every one of them was basically cosmetic, mostly involving the front bumper and hood. And ironically, that became my accidental solution to the rock chip problem, because the bumper and hood ended up being replaced twice. The first accident happened when a woman pulled directly out in front of me on a 4-lane road. There was a line of traffic in the left lane and I was moving along in the open right lane when she suddenly shot out through the gap of cars. She basically appeared in front of me and I hit her broadside and there was nothing I could do to stop. And in full 1990s Karen fashion, she blamed me, then disappeared from my insurance company for 2 years, which tied up my deductible. It turns out she didn't even have a valid driver's license, no insurance, and had a history of previous accidents. The second accident is the funniest one. I was pulling into our apartment complex behind a slow-moving, ratty, dirty van. We had just pulled off the main road and into the entrance to the parking lot when the guy just stopped. I was sitting directly behind the guy thinking, what's he doing? And then, before I could react, he shifted into reverse and backed straight into me. The best part? It was the 4th of July, right around noon, and when the guy got out, he was completely drunk. So I called 911, and when the state trooper arrived, I asked if I could record what was happening. He said sure. So I ran up to the apartment, grabbed my Sony camcorder, and filmed the guy getting arrested.
Stand right there. Spread your legs. We never go back to women, sir. Stand there, spread your legs. Spread your legs.
Cars were facing the other way going into the parking lot.
This guy ended up going into hiding and I'm not sure if they ever even found him. He didn't have a license, had a few other DUIs, and several accidents on his record. Add another DUI. Don't drink and drive, kids. It makes you dumb. So if you want to see the rest of that journey, hit like, subscribe, and check out the next videos on this channel.